Creepypasta time, Incident Report, August 21, 2020, The Demon Core. History: On August 6, 1945, a gun-type fission weapon nicknamed Little Boy was detonated over Hiroshima, Japan. It is estimated that upwards of 80,000 people were killed in the initial blast, only 20,000 of which were military personnel. Another 70,000 or also were injured. Following that, on August 9 a larger implosion-type nuclear weapon was detonated over Nagasaki, Japan. Though the bomb was larger and more powerful, the topology of the area contained the blast. Still, estimates are 40,000 to 70,000 killed in the initial blast, with another 60,000 injured. On August 13, a third bomb was scheduled to be dropped on Japan. Another large implosion-type nuclear weapon was ordered, and another plutonium core was assembled. The bomb was scheduled to be completed on August 16, and detonated on August 19. This was cancelled, as Japan surrendered on August 15. The bomb was never assembled, and did not receive a nickname. The core, however, was completed. It remained in the Los Alamos laboratory and was used for testing. First incident, August 21, 1945, death of Varutun Harry Cordaglian Jr. Harry Dolan, referred to as Harry hereafter, was a researcher at the Los Alamos laboratory studying the third core for criticality thresholds. Harry was surrounding the core with tungsten bricks, which reflected radioactivity back into the core. On the night of August 21, he returned to the lab alone and continued his work. As he was stacking tungsten bricks around the core, his instruments indicated he was nearing criticality. As he pulled the final brick away, he dropped it onto the core, causing it to go supercritical. A burst of blue light emitted from the core as Harry quickly removed the brick. Though the criticality was halted, Harry received around 200 rads and died 25 days later on September 15, 1945. Private Robert J. Hemmerly's death was also attributed to this incident, although it happened 33 years later. He was working security at the time of the accident. Second incident, May 21, 1946, death of Louis Alexander Slotin. Louis Slotin, referred hereafter as Slotin, was conducting further criticality experiments on the core using two halves of a beryllium sphere. The sphere halves had a hollow core sized perfectly to contain the plutonium core, and the beryllium itself was used as a reflector much like tungsten in the original experiment. Slotin initially used spacers to ensure the two halves did not completely close, which would lead to the core entering another instant supercritical state. Eventually, Slotin took to disregarding the spacers and instead used the head of a flat-tipped screwdriver to space the two halves apart. This allowed the two halves to get much closer, but was also much more risky. Despite that, Slotin had successfully completed the test over a dozen times. On May 21, Slotin was conducting the experiment as usual using the screwdriver head to space the two halves of the sphere. The screwdriver slipped, allowing the two halves to meet, completely sealing in the core. It went supercritical instantly, emitting another burst of blue light. Slotin immediately flipped the top half of the sphere onto the floor, which stopped the critical reaction. In all, the reaction only lasted around a second and a half, but Slotin received over 1,000 rads. His body shielded the others in the room from much of the radiation. Slotin died 9 days later on May 30, 1956. At some point after this incident the core received the nickname Demon Core. While 4 others were reported injured by the incident, and 7 total were in the room at the time, only Marion Edward C. Slicky died of complications likely to be a result of the accident. Marion was a physicist from Austin, Texas and contracted acute myelocytic leukemia, finally succumbing to it in 1965, 19 years after the accident. Operation Crossroads, 1946. Various. Operation Crossroads was a series of nuclear detonation tests over the Bikini Atoll to observe the effects of radiation on warships. On July 1, 1946, the first bomb was detonated 520 feet above the target fleet. It missed its target by over 2,000 feet, so the damage to the fleet was less than expected. The second test was performed on July 25. This time, the bomb was detonated 90 feet under the surface of the water. Radioactive sea spray from the explosion caused extensive contamination to the fleet. It was so bad, in fact, that the third test had to be cancelled due to the Navy being unable to decontaminate the ships. The, hereafter referred to as, Demon core was not used in either of these tests as originally intended, due to the criticality incident 2 months prior. Due to the accident, time was needed for the radioactivity level to drop so the core could be re-evaluated. Unofficial use after Operation Crossroads. Officially, shortly after Operation Crossroads the core was melted down and the material redistributed for other cores. Unofficially, the core remained intact and was handed over to Redacted for further study. Third incident, death of Edward Milton Yates, August 21, 1960. Edward Yates, referred hereafter as Edward, was running a routine scan on the Demon core. Since the criticality incident in 1945, the core had shown a marked decrease in radioactivity. This decrease went far beyond the traditional half-life of fissionable material, and it was in fact on track to becoming completely inert by 1962. However, when Edward scanned the core that night it instantly went supercritical for a split second, emitting a burst of blue light. Edward noted that there was no reflective material around the core. It was also almost completely inert at that time, to the point you could safely hold it in your hand. The core going critical at that moment, according to subsequent tests and all available scientific data at the time, and currently, should have been impossible. Edwards was hospitalized with severe radiation poisoning and died 25 days later on September 15, 1960. Fourth incident, death of Toby Eugene Miller, May 21, 1961. After the incident on August 21 the previous year, the Demon core was moved to a containment facility within the Redacted complex. No further tests were performed and the core was labeled as unstable and dangerous. The lead scientist of Redacted, Toby Miller, referred hereafter as Toby, began studying the incident. Peers say he became obsessed, and his home was later bugged by the Redacted security team. Transcript from Toby Miller's bedroom, December 3, 1960, 6:24 p.m. Toby, just an accident. A quick slip. Just a slip. Unknown female, what are you? Toby, huh? Oh, no. Nothing to do with you. The bricks. Just a quick slip, just a small quick slip hand. Flash. Unknown female, okay. Well, listen. Your hour started at 6, so. Toby, just a quick, errant turn. A scrape, a drop, then. Flash. Unknown female, are you okay, hon? You look. Toby, and then nothing. Nothing at all. Just a normal scan. No accidents, just. Flash. Unknown female, okay, you're starting to freak me out, pal. I'm gonna. Toby, no. I'm sorry. It's just work stuff. There were. I'm sorry. I can't talk about it. I'm. Unknown female, I know how it is with you Redacted guys. I won't pry. But I, probably can help you take your mind off it. Yeah? Toby, yeah, that would be nice. Unknown female, it will, yeah. Why don't you try to relax and follow me? Toby, I'd like that, yeah. Transcript from Toby Miller's bedroom, March 19, 1961, 6:14 p.m. Unknown female, alright, calm. Follow me. Hands. Right here. And here. Breathe. Toady, I can't think. Unknown female, you don't need to think. Just feel. Just listen, and let me help you. Breathe. Toby, I. Unknown female, no talking. Just breathing and kissing sounds. Unknown female, no, I'll get your buttons. Just breath. Toby, the flash. It. Unknown female, no. Don't worry about the flash tonight. Just look at me. Toby, I'll try. Yoon. Unknown female, that's it. Take it slow. Breathe. Toby, starts crying I'm sorry, Unknown female, it's okay. It's okay. No judgments here. No time limits tonight. Just relax. Toby, crying continues. Transcript from Toby Miller's bedroom, May 21, 1961, 6:31 p.m. Unknown female, heavy breathing. Wow, Toby. You were something else tonight. Toby, heavy breathing. I feel good. Better than I have all year. Kissing sound and I have you to thank for that. Unknown female, oh, you know me. I'm just here to help. Sound of lighter clicking on. Toby, I mean it. I was going crazy. I was getting obsessed with this. Unknown female, with a work thing. I know you can't talk about. I'm just glad you're coming out of it. Now, I'm gonna give you 10 minutes, they were gonna holy what the fucking shit. Toby, oh god.
Oh no.
No.
How?
Unknown female, what the fuck was that? Toby, can be. It's impossible. Sounds of rummaging. Unknown female, goddamn, why was that so hot? What was that? Was that the blue light you were talking about? Toby, oh shit. Unknown female, what is that? Toby, it's. Oh god. I need you to come with me. Unknown female, you know the rules. I don't leave the house. I know we've become pretty familiar. But Toby, I'm calling in a team from work. I'm so sorry, but you can't leave. Unknown female, Toby. You're starting to scare me. Toby, I'm sorry. Try to stay calm. Please know that I'm just looking out for you. But this unknown female, several seconds of silence. Will you stop staring at that fucking thing and talk to me? Toby and an unnamed female were picked up by a retrieval team and taken to redacted. Toby was treated for severe radiation poisoning, but died 9 days later on May 30, 1961. The unnamed female was not mentioned in any further reports. The demon core was recovered from Toby's bedroom. An internal investigation could not determine how it got there. The core was tested and was at that point completely inert. It was moved to a monitored containment facility. Fifth incident, death of Ira Jameson, August 21, 1975. On September 21, 1975, Ira Jameson signed the demon core out of storage and took it to a melting facility. Redacted paperwork indicates the U.S. government requested the core be melted back down and returned, despite being inert. Logs indicate they ran the furnace for 8 hours at the hottest temperatures they were able to safely maintain, but the core did not melt down. Ira noted that immediately after removing it from the furnace, it showed no signs of wear and was actually cool to the touch. While returning the core to storage, reports indicate the core went supercritical and emitted a burst of blue light. Ira was admitted to a nearby hospital where he died of complications from acute radiation poisoning 25 days later on September 15, 1975. Redacted retained possession of the core. Sixth incident, death of George Carver Klein, May 21, 2006. Between the events of 1975 and 2005, the demon core was reported missing and recovered 4 times, though the details are limited. Interestingly, in that time there were reports of U.S. citizens in 4 different states who mysteriously died of severe radiation poisoning despite having no access to any material that could have caused it. In 2005, Redacted was still in control of the core, which was stored in a monitored containment cell adjacent to their main laboratory. Security footage from May 21, 2005, 1:43 p.m. transcribed below. At the time of the incident, 6 people were signed into the laboratory: Jesse Talton, Fluid and Chemical Engineering; Michael Hargrove, Mechanical and Biomedical Studies; Levi Tyson, Phycology and Metal Physiology; Jacqueline Wilson, Lead Test Director; Gregory Larson, Records Management; Philip McDaniels, Security. Footage begins with George Klein, referred hereafter as George, walking into the lab with a spherical object under his left arm, and a gun in his right hand. George, how many? Let's see. Yes. There's enough here. Michael looks up and is shot twice in the chest by George. George, do you want anyone in particular, or? Jacqueline? Okay. Jackie. Come here. The rest of the laboratory staff begin hiding behind tables and cabinets. George, I know, I'll get her. Jackie. Come out this instant. Where? Behind the burner station? George circles the burner station and finds Jacqueline, who puts her hands up defensively before being shot 3 times in the head and neck. George, who do you want next? Oh? All right, I guess I'll pick Dr. Tyson. Where are you? George starts walking around the lab slowly, looking behind various objects as the rest of the staff move around from hiding place to hiding place. Jesse Talton stands and runs for the door, but is shot in the back. George, who was that? Jesse? I guess you'll. What's that? Well, aren't we being picky? All right, fine. Hold tight, Jesse. Jesse begins crawling for the door as George walks back into the lab. George, Levi. Come out now. George fires once into the air. He appears to see movement and fires twice into the lab. George, who was that? Let's see. He walks over to find Levi crouched behind a desk. Levi, please, George. I don't know what. George, it's nothing to do with you, Levi. George pulls the trigger but the gun doesn't fire. George, Oh, right. George begins to reload the gun and Levi stands up, pushing George out of the way as he rushes for the door. George finishes reloading calmly. Levi, security. We have. George shoots Levi in the back twice, then walks over to him. George, no, I don't think he's. Oh, you're right. George fires once into the back of Levi's head. At this point Philip McDaniels stands and fires once at George. The bullet hits him in the side, then Philip's gun appears to jam. George runs a finger over his wound. George, ultimately inconsequential. But still. May I? Yes, gladly. George opens fire on Philip until his gun is empty. George, okay, that was 4. I kept my end of the. What do you mean one more? Who's in here? Jesse and. Who? Greg? Which one should? Yes, I agree. Greg is hardly a mind worth sacrificing. Jesse? Where did you get off to? George reloads calmly as he walks up to Jesse, who has gotten most of the way to the door, and fires 5 times into her back. George, there, is that sufficient? Perfect. Gregory, come here. Oh, stop hiding. I won't hurt you. Look. George tosses the gun aside. George, come on, I have glorious news. He says he'll. Greg, come on. Oh well, your loss. It's time. George holds up the sphere, and a bright blue light bursts from it. George slowly opens his eyes. George, what? Why Madge? No. You were supposed to take me with you. George begins shouting at the sphere. George, did you lie to me? Hello? Hello? Gregory picks up George's gun. George collapses to the ground crying. George, I did everything you said. Oh God. What did I? Oh my God. Gregory backs out of the room, gun pointed at George. Footage ends. George died in a critical care unit at the Redacted Lab building 9 days later, on May 30, 2006. The Demon Core was removed from the facility by Redacted and is now in our care. 7th incident, death of Paul Nathaniel Dodd, August 21, 2020. On August 21, 2020, Redacted was made aware of an accident on Interstate Highway 35 just north of Redacted, Texas. The driver, Paul Dodd, referred hereafter as Paul, was unharmed in the initial accident, but became severely ill afterwards. His body was covered in what appeared to be burns and open sores. His dashcam footage was recovered and showed a bright blue flash in front of his car, followed by a spherical object crashing through his windshield on the passenger side. Several more blue flashes appeared to emit from within the vehicle as he pulled over. The Demon Core was recovered from the vehicle and returned to Redacted. It is unknown how it was removed from containment or by whom. The camera which monitors its cell shows a bright blue flash a half hour before the incident, then goes offline. Interestingly, the site of the incident is more than 3 hours from the Redacted facility by plane. Paul died of complications from acute radiation poisoning 25 days later, on September 15, 2020. The Demon Core is currently back in containment, and monitoring has been increased.